Hi, Aaron. Julia here, recording this August 15th, 2022. I just want to talk a little bit about pride and ego and how to deal with this reality in general and conflicts in each other. So many people have so much invested in their image and their status in this avatar, and they act accordingly. You know, you have to check yourself before you wreck yourself, so to speak. But yeah, that pride where if someone corrects you or criticizes you, even if it's constructive criticism, we often just get all bent out of shape and very defensive. And often people, if they get offended, they need to offend the other person. And then a war of words transpires, and things can often get really out of hand. And words are very powerful. Words are very powerful. They do cast spells, and you should really consider the power of your words before you embark on a tongue lashing at someone, because you can't take back those words. And you just have to keep things in perspective. Have that self-awareness. Look at yourself from the outside and how you're behaving, you know. And if someone else was acting like that, what would you think then? Would you like to be your own friend? Would you be a friend of you if you weren't you? Are you the type of person that you would want to be friends with or not? And be honest when you think of that question. Would you really want to be friends with someone who acts like you? However you may act. And it's all about, you know, taming those emotions and knowing how to display and use our emotions and not them us, where they just take control. They just become their own entities in a way and just take over, especially like anger. You know, and anger is often warranted, no doubt. But again, you can't stay in that emotion or any other emotion. So you have to release the emotion and then work on the cause of the emotion and, you know, be rational and calm and collected about how to sort things instead of just exploding and maybe, you know, change it. Sometimes an anger burst can change the entire trajectory of someone's life. You know, it's no small issue. And it all stems back to ego and pride and, oh, well, that offended me, that hurt my feelings. And man, you just have to thicken up. Thicken up. Don't take things so personally. Usually, if people are lashing out at you, they're usually projecting their issues onto you. So you just have to look at it from a more understanding viewpoint and realize that it's not about you, it's about the other person. And try not to fall into the same scenario as they have if they're the ones giving the tongue lashing. You know, I try to avoid verbal conflicts because they don't really lead anywhere. Because if somebody's very angry and they're in that heated moment, there's no rationalizing with that type of person. So it's better to leave it, come back to it later. I often like to write things out and get it to them in writing. And that way you're heard. And maybe they'll actually hear what you have to say if they read it, to where if you're just screaming at each other in anger, no one hears anything. And you rarely see people walk away from heated arguments both feeling good about it. Neither one do. So it's up to all of those of us who have worked on ourselves and our healing, and we have that self-awareness we have to step up our game, and it's not always easy. You know, as much work as I've done, I still get offended and want to react sometimes when people do certain things, and I have to stop and regroup. And I take Jason's from Archaic's advice, and you know, when I'm out of sorts with, for whatever reason, emotions or whatever, I stop and take some deep breaths, reset my frequency, and then move on. And usually I can just forget about whatever it was that seemed to be bothering me. So, yeah, have that self-awareness, do your emotional healing work, so you've worked through all those suppressed emotions, and you don't, you know, they don't just surface when you're in some situation that's not, you know, harmonious by any means. And then, on a whole other different topic, I just wanted to talk about how everything always works out. It really does. And I know some of us get really stressed and anxious, and for good reason. Some of us are in some really harrowing predicaments, and it just looks like, you know, there's not much hope. But it always works out. You know, I've had many instances like that, but just in the semi-recent past, when I lived in Prague back in 2005 through 2009, I needed to get a job, and I didn't really think I could. I didn't speak Czech that well. And as soon as I started looking, it said, must speak English, you know, things like that. So I was able to get a job. Everything worked out. Last summer, I was in a real predicament. Basically, I was homeless. So I just ended up living in my tent for a couple of months, which ended up being awesome and great. You know, I loved it. It all worked out. And now I'm living in a beautiful place, and who knows how long this will last, and I'm not really worried about it. I think it'll last as long as I want it to. And if for some reason this situation is no longer here, this opportunity, something else will arise. Probably something even better. It usually gets better every time. And I know the anxiety, and I know the feeling that it brings when you get to that, when you have an anxiety attack. You know, you're overwhelmed. Whenever I considered last year that I might, you know, that I didn't really have a place to live, I got really stressed for a few minutes there. You know, just that extreme anxiety where I just, you know, thought I was going to throw up. And then I took some deep breaths, regrouped, and just handed it over to the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. And it all worked out. You know, it's just, we always think everything is so detrimental and just so final. But we just have to do our part and try to keep our perspective on what we want, our thoughts on what we want, and not on all the horrible things that could happen. And that really makes a huge difference right there. And again, if you do your emotional healing work, you'll be sure to manifest the life you want, as opposed to the life that you sometimes worry about. But one of the keys is to quit worrying. Worrying does no good for anyone. It just brings more anxiety. So when you find yourself worrying, find a way to flip the script and turn that into setting intentions for how you want things to be. And, you know, it takes work, just like your emotional healing. And again, there's playlists on this channel for emotional healing. You do that emotional healing work, you're just better set for all this stuff. It's not always totally smooth, and you do have those moments, but it's so easy and quick to regroup and change your perspective and, just get back where you want to be, in that proper frequency, that proper resonance. Fear is what leads to anxiety, right? And if you're vibrating at the fear resonance, you're going to manifest what the collective does, because that's where they're vibrating. So you have to lose the fear. There's nothing to fear. Nothing to fear at all. You're a divine creator being. You're here for a short time to experience amazing things, to be able to assist others going forward. And a lot of people say that's one of the reasons we're here, is to be in service of others. And so many people are only in service of themselves, and they only want to take, and never give. And taking and giving is a two-way street. You don't always want to be giving, and you don't always want to be taking. You want to keep balance with that aspect of life, as well as, any aspect of life. Balance. So yeah, lose the pride, just try to remember when other people do things that aren't to your liking, it's a reflection of them, not you. Keep that self-awareness and know that everything always does work out somehow. And then, just enjoy your life and manifest the life you want. If you want to get out of the matrix, get out of the matrix. If you like it there, we'll make it awesome there. Whatever it is you want, you can manifest. But always try to help others, and don't ever hurt anyone to get what you want. That's not going to work out well either. So anyway, just a few things that I've been thinking about, and I appreciate all of the people here. Lots of new subscribers. I thank you all. And if y'all ever have any topics you'd like me to talk about, or if I know anything about them, I'll be glad to. And again, I appreciate everyone here, and I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And always help others when you can. Thanks for listening. Ciao, ciao.